Take a breath. Right. Hello, everybody. It'd be nice to see faces rather than names. So if you wanted to start your video, let's just wait another couple of minutes, see who else might be joining. Something funny was happening with the sounds because I said all that about a moment ago, stopped talking, and then it all got played back. Caron, can you hear me? Right, okay. Right. Okay, so do you have the text? There's a text available, right? Okay, so we decided this year we just take the Al-Khates, this long vidui. Can I? So we've taken this long vidui and each just taken one of the stanzas, one of the lines. So I've chosen this one, Al Chet Shechatanu Lefanecha Bifrikat Ol. Variously translated, as you can see in the traditional Machzor, commit the sin we've committed before you by breaking the yoke. In our Machzor, by defying the moral law. In the liberal Machzor, translators denying our religious duty. So quite what. So I suppose why did I pick this one was because not quite sure what breaking the yoke means. So what I've started by looking at are the two words. What do the two words mean? How are they used? Can I just say, if you've got a question or anything you want to comment on, please just unmute yourself, wave a hand. There are just enough to be able to see everybody, I think. Let me see how many there are of us. There are 9 of us, so I think I can see everybody. Let's see the list. Right, so yeah, so just wave or unmute yourself and speak. So I start off looking at the word perek, the root peyesh kuf. Peyesh kuf is an interesting root in Hebrew because there are a number of words, and I've listed some of them, all beginning with these 2 root letters. So parasha, the section of the Torah reading. Paras is to spread out, to like it talks about spreading out your hands. So that's peyesh sin. Peri is fruit, as in Pri Hagafen. Peru or Revu, God's command to Adam and Eve, be fruitful, Peru or Revu, and multiply. And finally, Peretz is another peyesh root. A Peretz, apart from being the name of a famous Yiddish author, Peretz is a breach in the walls when you're attacking a city and attacking the walls, and you make a breach in the walls. That's a peretz. So I don't know if anybody can see a sort of thread running through any thread that connects all these Pegesh roots. Normally in Hebrew, roots are 3 letters, but sometimes some grammarians suggest Hebrew roots are originally 2 letters, just the first 2, like a Pei and a Resh. I'm welcoming lots of other people. If you would like to switch on your video, it's always nicer to see a face than a black screen. So any, can you see any connection? What connects a chapter of the Torah? Pirkei Avot is the sayings of the fathers, Parasha, a section of Torah reading, Paras, to spread out one's hands, Peri, fruit, being fruitful and multiply, and a breach in the wall. I don't know any thoughts what might connect them all. Right, okay, well, I would suggest it's something to do with separating. Yeah, a perek is a chapter, is a separate bit of a book. Parasha, a separate section of the Torah reading. Paras, to spread out, to separate your hands. To eat fruit, something that separates from the tree. Being fruitful and multiplying, well, sort of separating bits of yourself off into descendants. And peretz, a breach, of course, is you're making a separation in the wall. So this maybe is the thread running through this idea of Peresh Kuf. And then we've got the word ol, a yoke. And of course, in Hebrew, remember, words are Hebrew is written without vowels. So these 3 letters, Ayin, Vav, and Lamed, we could read as in the Al-Chet, we're reading as Ol, but we could also read it as in the Leviticus, the Even Shushan is one of the major Hebrew dictionaries, and it looks at the letters Ayin, Vav, Lamed, reads them as Ul, or Avel, and the definition is Asa Avel, Hefer Chok. So again, we've got that Pegesh root, and Chok is one of the Hebrew words for law. So it's something about separating off from the law, from the Chok. The Chok is a statute, technically. And then a couple of instances of how it's used in Tanakh. So later on this morning, we'll be reading in the second scroll reading from the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, the so-called Holiness Code. And the phrase there is, Lo tasu avel b'mishpat. You shall not pervert justice, as our translation says. Lo tisaf dal. You should not literally lift up the face of the poor. So you shouldn't favor the poor. V'lo tedar p'nei gadol. Nor should you give honor to the face of the great, the rich. But tzedek tishpot amitecha, you shall judge your fellow human being with tzedek, with justice. The word avel then signifying something, well, pervert justice in our translation, but some sort of iniquity, something not good, something iniquitous. Just a couple more from Tanakh. Hatzor tamim paolo ki chol derachav mishpat el emunavein avel tzadik v'yasharhu. The rock, God's deeds are perfect for all, God's ways are just. The steadfast God without error, true and upright is God. And somewhere somewhere in liturgy we use that, but I couldn't, it only occurred to me that somewhere in liturgy we use that. Does anybody recognize this phrase, Hatzor Tamim Pa'olo? Yeah, okay. And just another example in Tanakh, from the book of Psalms, Elohai Palteni miyad rasha, rescue me from the hand of the wicked, mikaf me'avel v'chometz, from the hand of the kaf. Kaf is your kaf, the palm of your hand. It's the bit of the body which is enclosed, the letter kaf. Why is the letter kaf called the letter kaf? Because it encloses the palm of the hand. The sole of the foot is also called kaf in Hebrew. So the kaf, the palm, the hand, the power of the unjust and the ruthless. So there are three ways in which this root ayin vav lamed is being used. Any thoughts? Sorry, maybe we should have started asking, but when you see this bit in the al-chet shekanu lefanecha b'frikat ol, by breaking the yoke or define, what do you understand by that? Maybe that's the place where we should be starting. Any thoughts about what I guess my question is, what it took me to this one is just what is the yoke? What is the yoke that we're breaking? Yeah, David, you need to unmute yourself. Yeah, I see David and then Alan. So let's start with David, yeah?
Well, I think I'd always interpreted it simply as the tradition, breaking the sort of yoke of our tradition.
Right, okay, so that, yeah.
Well,
Alan?
Well, it's the Neri part of Alan.
Oh, right, it's the Neri part of Alan, right.
I've always taken it as, because it's a yoke and an animal is yoked, that it's actually breaking, it's not recognizing authority, it's breaking with authority. So that it's a very interesting concept.
It's a liberation of an animal if you break the yoke.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So look, I've got a problem because I'm getting the sound and I'm getting feedback sound. So if you can just hold on 1 minute, I'm going to run down and get somebody to try and sort this out. But in the meantime, just a question: why do we yoke animals? What's the purpose of the yoke in farming? So let me leave that with you. I'll be back in 1 minute.
Breaking off the yoke.
I've got the machzor here. Where will I find the al-chet shechatanu that he's referring to? Which page?
My understanding is it's on a sheet that we've downloaded.
Oh.
That's what I've got. It's if you can go back to the site where you clicked on the Zoom for this session, there's another, it's quite small. You can click here, it says, to download the sheet that I'm reading from, that Colin's reading from. Does that help?
It does, but I'm afraid I'll lose where I am now watching everybody. So I'll manage without.
Okay.
Colin, I'll put the link in the chat to everyone, so that anyone who wants to look at it online can just access it through that.
Oh, how clever.
Hand's gone down again. That's the trouble. Then he stays up for a short while.
Oh, it's this.
Oh,
No, I'm unmuted.
Everyone.
it says chat disabled.
Oh,
Chat.
I think the chat's disabled.
You have to go back to the source sheet.
And let's see what happens.
Let's try that. Is that? Well, we'll see.
We should mute everybody. Just mute everyone.
No, Elliot. I
Right, hang on, Danny. We've muted it all, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I was going to say that's why you get feedback. Only keep it on when you're talking. I think a yoke is a connection. It's the thing that connects the animals. And this is our connection with Judaism, would be my thought.
Right, okay.
Let's do this.
So you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was going to say that's why you get feedback. Only keep it on when you're talking. I think a yoke is a connection. It's the thing that connects the animals. And this is our connection with Judaism.
Danny, let me stop you. It seems like we're recording everything that's being said and then it's being played back.
Yes, you didn't stop me. That was a recording.
Later.
So what I think we should do is just, we're going to restart the meeting and everyone going to come back in again. And that's probably the best thing to do at this stage. So I'm going to end the meeting, but everyone should just come back in immediately.